Let's move in now to discuss the harmonic conversion, balancing the alpha and the omega within ourselves and then expressing that outward. It's interesting that when, as all of you know, I sort of download or get inspiration on what topics are going to be presented on this radio show and in my different classes. And sometimes I'm not even sure the full meaning of them when I put them out there. And then the days unfold and I get a deeper understanding of what it is exactly that the oneness is wanting to express in that moment. The interesting thing about this topic is when I heard the word harmonic conversion, I knew that that was a familiar term to me. I knew that the Spirit was asking me to take it to a new level, but I actually did not recall what the original term had been coined for. And so without realizing that I was about to do this show, a friend of mine just earlier this week started talking about the harmonic conversion. So I said to her, well, what is it? Because I know I'm talking about it, and I know Spirit's about to give some deeper understanding to what it is, but I actually don't recall what it originally was. And she said that I was actually pretty young when it first started, so I wasn't fully in awareness of this, but she had participated in this huge worldwide event where people were drawing their energy together to assist in bringing harmony into the world. Well, in my understanding of this, we really have been working. Some people have been working at that level where there's been so many groups coming up like that, so many people gathering and putting their intention in, so much more insight and an awakening and bringing into the mainstream this understanding that our meditative state, that our intention, that our emotions, that are coming together in joining our intentions amplifies this, and that we can actually have a very powerful shift in the world. I think it's really exciting that it's actually the 25th anniversary of that, and they are apparently bringing that back up to the surface at this very same time to do some more work in that way. And now here Spirit, which would seem unrelated, is asking me to bring this up in the personal way, which then creates the massive consciousness or the shift that we are really in. And I know people are still looking to see what's going to happen in 2012. And there's all this, there's all this understanding about it or misunderstanding about it. And yet we know that this happens within us and that it's happening now. It has been happening for a while, and it will continue to happen for quite some time. So how do we create world peace? We know, and we have come to an understanding that creating world peace is finding inner peace and radiating that out into the world and reflecting that, so that the more and more people that find that inner peace, we then reach a tipping point in which we can create a world based in peace rather than conflict, because we no longer need the mirror of conflict to remind us of peace. So in that same vibration, when we're looking at harmony, which is a variation of that energy, isn't it? So if we're wanting harmony in our world, and to me, harmony is, I'm seeing it like waves of energy. It's still passionate, it's still moving, it's still interactive, and yet it's like an orchestra. So if we were to envision as our world peace or our world harmony, if we were to envision every person, every culture, every animal, every tree, every plant, every thought, every vibration, and this grand symphony that was harmonically balanced, harmonically in resonance with each other, that it creates beautiful music. Because in oneness, we are not trying to develop a forum in which everyone is exactly the same. I think that as a world, we have experienced that concept a couple times, and it didn't work out so good. Not to name any names, but we aren't going back to that image of oneness, of creating sameness. What we're talking about in the oneness is this remembrance of this harmonic convergence that moves throughout all of us. And as each person gets into their own perfection, their own resonance, their own harmony, then the collective energy starts to create this beautiful music, as we call the earth. We can develop the vision, the expression of earth in a way that creates grand and beautiful music. So what do we need to do individually to bring this to fruition? And you know that I've talked about this many times. This is my passion, and we're coming at this in every angle, every time, every reminder, because we want to be it. We don't want to just think it. We don't want to feel it for a moment. We want to be this. And so each time we bring it up, each time we look at it and examine it from a different angle, each time we sit in it and experience the vibration, we are moving ourselves to the actual expression of this essence. So as we look into our own selves, inside of each one of us is the expression of the Alpha and the Omega, which is sometimes reduced to the male and the female, but it is that and more. Sometimes it's reduced to the mind and the heart, which are both symbols of this more expansive vibration. I want to just say a little story that I just think is such a beautiful way of expressing this, but it'll lead us to a discussion about how we come to this and how everything in our life actually supports us in this. And it has to do with our own choice of if we're going to accept that journey and open to the experience of it and allow the experiences of our lives to make us more than, to make us more in remembrance of our oneness, or to separate us or allow us to feel like a victim. So a few weeks ago, I was blessed with the opportunity to be at the bedside of a very beautiful woman who had experienced cancer for a couple of years, and she was ready to make her final crossing into the space beyond form. And as I was there with her husband, who clearly loves her beyond all understanding, the love between them is so beautiful. And he started to explain the miracles that had occurred over these past 2 years while he and his wife walked through her cancer. And the way he expressed this to me, and I want to remind you, this is in the final stages before his wife was dying. And the way he expressed this to me was to say that this experience was such a miracle to him because it opened his heart. And he said, it made me more of a man and it made me more of a woman. And then he looked at me, not knowing everything that I teach and all that I stand for, only a touch of that. He said, that may sound crazy, and I don't know if you understand, but we all have man and woman inside of us. And opening to this experience made me more of both. And that is what we are looking for inside of us. We can look at this in the bigger picture, and we should, and we will, and many times coming together, amplifying, harmonizing the world's energies, tapping into that vibration on the collective whole. That's all very, very beautiful. But we also have to work within ourselves, because we can have the greatest impact when we dedicate our own lives to bringing that man and that woman, and I mean the divine male and the divine female inside of us. I mean the Alpha and the Omega, which is the purest, most beautiful form of those expressions, and embracing both sides of that. We have looked at over the past several years, well, let me expand that. Over the past thousands of years, we have come to realize that over these past thousands of years, we have, as a society, as a whole, further embraced the male energy, the linear thinking, the alpha energy in the development of our world. And the female energy was suppressed. Now, I already talked about this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not going to go into this too much. I want to now take this into the personal expression of ourselves. So as that has occurred, here we are as souls representing both the alpha and the omega within ourselves. And having chosen either a male or a female body to express that in a society where that does make a difference, and what you are in is going to impact you through your DNA to some degree, and you chose that body in order to give yourself the experiences that you needed to come into harmony with this male and female energy within you. So over these years, as you have been experiencing the male dominance, both in our society and therefore primarily in most individuals, then as an individual, whether you're male or female, what we need to look at is, first of all, embracing that divine feminine and giving permission to ourselves once again to open our hearts, to embrace emotions, to express our life through emotion, to embrace our life through emotion, meaning to be willing to allow experiences such as cancer of a loved one, death of a loved one, loss of a job, birth of a child, all of these experiences, all of them, every single one, whether we've categorized them as bad or good. Each one of them invokes emotion inside of us that allows us to open to this flow, to this vibration of the divine feminine moving through us. Now, embracing this and choosing with our mind to embrace this, to experience emotions, to look for with our mind for the positive in a situation, and also to allow with our heart to experience the positive that comes from the situation based on being present in the emotional state of that condition. And as we do that, we begin to harmonize ourselves internally. We need to be very dedicated to be both the observer and the participant, to lead with both our mind and our heart in perfect harmony, which is possible. And as we do this, to be diligent in looking at ourselves with truthful eyes. The reason I'm saying this is because within each one of us, by being in this experience of Earth, by being in our societies, by being in the alpha-directed energy for so long, or maybe I should say male vibration energy, or linear or mind-based, that vibration is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful in its divine harmony. Any vibration, either vibration in which it's leading too far without the other, will be out of balance or out of harmonic union. So there is nothing wrong with that vibration, but it's limited in its resource. So when we add the female vibration, and so we need to look at this, and we can look at this as women in our society, outside of ourselves, and if we're ready to go deeper, we can look at this inside of ourselves, because whether we're male or female, we have both of this inside of ourselves. So what I want to talk about for a minute is what has become the male-adapted female energy. And I wouldn't say that this is omega energy in its purest sense. This is an adaptation to the dominance of the linear mind or the male energy. And again, this is not a sexist statement. This is about inside of each one of us. I just want to keep making that clear. Even the women's movement was a linear male vibration. So what we're looking at inside of ourselves now, and if first you see it in the people around you, that's okay. because they're mirrors for you, and then we look within ourselves. But what I've come to realize is a next step in harmonizing in this harmonic conversion is that we need to look and consider the possibility that we have maladapted to the linear energies of the past thousands of years. And so in order to get back into the harmonic conversion, we actually have to acknowledge and have compassion for any maladapted female energies that may exist within us. Now, this would be using emotions as a tool of manipulation. This would be using sexual energy as a tool of manipulation. This would be using victimization or martyrship as a way of control. Ill health, anything that uses the feminine energy, the idea of playing on emotions or toying on emotions in order to gain control would be a maladaptive expression of that vibration. So we all have that within us. If we're honest, the more honest that we are, whether we're male or female, whether we've been on this spiritual path of awakening, whether we've indulged in self-knowledge and delved deep into our emotional being, I can stand here and say that we still need to look at this. We need to be honest with ourselves. We need to, whether it's major issues that we have or the tiniest speck of this vibration, bringing this to the surface and acknowledging it with compassion, and then reclaiming it into the divine omega energy within ourselves. And the same can go for any maladaptive male energy or mind energy or alpha energy that has occurred. We've seen that. We focused on that a lot. I don't even need to go into that because so many people on the spiritual path have looked at the fact that we've been leading with the mind for so long, and we look around at the world, and we sometimes look at what isn't right. We look at what we think is wrong, and we blame it on that vibration. So we've been looking at that for a little while. I'm not saying not to look at it. I'm just saying, okay, and wait. Let's look at the female energy inside of us. Let's look at the omega energy, and let's make sure that as we're raising this up, which is what we're doing now, we are raising up the omega energy in our world so that we can regain harmonic union. In order to make this harmonic conversion, the omega energy that rises up inside of us, that rises up in each other, that rises up in the world has to be pure, has to be of the highest vibration, and therefore it is time now to look within yourself, to examine yourself, and to declare to yourself, not to others, to yourself. The others are just your mirrors, but to declare to yourself that you are no longer willing to tolerate the vibration of maladaptation in either the male or the female energy within you, that you are calling on, reclaiming, embracing with compassion, love, and wisdom all that you are in the purest form, your alpha and your omega, in perfect harmony, in the harmonic convergence, in the harmonic union, and then radiate that out into the world, because when you get that into balance, and you can and you will, and that comes from the reading that you do, it comes from the where you place your minds and your thoughts, it comes from your meditations, it comes from your energy work, it comes from your relationships, it comes from your diligence to see, to feel, to be this in whatever situation is in front of you. And as you come to that space, everything you do then radiates out into the world, the perfect harmonic convergence, and it ripples out and it amplifies. You begin to find people from around the world who are radiating in that same vibration. You come together perhaps to bring your attention into meditation, perhaps to send it out intentionally into the world. But at that point, you almost don't even have to, because your very essence of being, enjoy with each other in this harmonic vibration of alpha and omega within you, is enough to change the group consciousness. And we move to the shift that we are creating here. And in that space, like I said earlier, We do not need the reflection of conflict. We do not need the reflection of war. We do not need the maladaptive reflection of male or female energy as our mirrors to remember this truth. And therefore, we can come together and create a harmonic vibration. We can create an orchestra of energies and vibrations from the tiniest speck to the grandest being in perfect, beautiful music. And this is the space we are creating. What and how it looks like is less relevant to the vibrational field that is moving from this space. So we call to you now to commit to this work, and you have already, and simply allowing yourself now to claim and to reclaim that you will embrace both the woman and the man inside of you, the alpha and the omega inside of you, that you will look for and call out and re-establish, raise up again those vibrations that reflect the purity of the alpha and the omega within you, within your relationships. You will change this world. You will create now that which you desire. And as we look at this, I want you to dedicate yourself, if it feels right, to a week of really looking at where you spend your time. And if your time is spent a little bit more in the mind and the action, in the linear way of being, then put into this week intentionally, schedule into your week more time in the vibration of the heart center. Now, you know that I advocate the meditation because that works for me. The one thing about the guided meditation is it actually does harmonize the mind and the heart because it's a vibrational aspect, but your mind gets to be a part of it because you're doing this guided journey. But that's only one way. Even getting body work, getting a massage, going for a swim, going for a run, spending time with a child, laughing with your friends or your partner, crying, watching a happy movie, watching a sad movie, allowing your emotions to be present, being aware, being very diligent with yourself. And like I said, you may first see those maladaptive behaviors of victimization or manipulation with emotion or sexual energy in somebody else, because sometimes it's easier for us to first see it in a reflective mirror and maybe even blame that person for a moment. And then I'm saying, once you get done with that, remember again that that's your mirror, and draw it forward with compassion and love to rebalance it within yourself. Now, if you've been on the side of the emotions and you've been sitting in so much emotion and not putting a lot of time into the linear thinking, then use this week to spend more time in that side of it, to find the beauty and the grace in the linear thinking and the male energy, to find the pureness of the alpha energy that is in this world, and to just spend the week consciously balancing these two aspects in your mind and in your heart, just for the week, and see what happens. And if you choose to do it another week and another week and another week, then that's wonderful too. I'm going to leave you there, and I ask that you each have a wonderful week in whatever you choose to do, however you choose to express yourself.